Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Here's a quick look at what's lined up for you on the show tonight. Our cover story tonight on Gravitas is about a decision that has been described as wicked and atrocious. Which decision are we talking about? Italy's move to join China's BRI, the Belt and Road Initiative, China's Xi Jinping's ambitious project. Now, Italy wants to break free of this project. And why is that? Because it finds itself trapped. And the anger and the frustration is palpable, in fact, in the sharp statements that have been issued. Strong words have been used, to say the least. The defense minister, in fact, called the decision to join the BRI wicked. On Gravitas tonight, we tell you why Italy feels this way, what exactly is it planning to do, what has it said, and we also ask, is it time for other countries to also follow suit and break free of this Chinese lie? That's not all. Also on the show for you tonight, we tell you all about Riyadh's peace plan as far as the Russia-Ukraine war is concerned and the expectations. Will Denmark and Sweden ban the burning of religious books after a string of such incidents? And is this too little, too late? And will other countries follow suit? We discuss. Also on the show, the Wuhan virus is back with a spike in numbers in some parts of the world. We also speak to an expert to try and decode what really is going on and what is causing this spike in numbers. We also tell you all about the Swift Quake, the earthquake caused by Taylor Swift's fans. The Belt and Road Initiative. It was and is Chinese President Xi Jinping's dream project. In fact, Xi Jinping likes to call it the road for peace. Instead, for most countries, it has become the route to a nightmare. Italy, which has close relations with Beijing and is not given to hyperbole, has now described it as wicked, even atrocious. These are the sharp and even sensational terms used by Italy's defense minister, Guido Crosetto. He recently gave an interview in which he confessed that Italy has been trapped in China's BRI, that it is trying to leave BRI without damaging ties with Beijing. The issue today is how to walk back. That's what the defense minister said. Those are strong words. He added the choice to join the Silk Road was an improvised and wicked act made by the government of Giuseppe Conte, which led to a negative result. But it does not end there or with Italy. Remember, Italy signed up to the BRI in the year 2019, and it became the first G7 country, in fact, to do that. Of course, there were many who raised eyebrows. Why did Italy need to join BRI? The project was launched in 2013. Xi Jinping claims BRI is designed to mobilize resources, also strengthen connectivity and leverage potential growth drivers. China says it wants to build a network of roads, railways, energy pipelines to create international infrastructure. China wants this network to go westward via the former Soviet republics, southwards to West Asia, also to Africa. Under BRI, China plans to construct what it likes to call the Overland Silk Road Economic Belt and the Maritime Silk Road. Initially, the two were referred to as One Belt, One Road, and now it's just called the BRI. China insists that this mega project will integrate more countries and regions into economic globalization. These are Xi Jinping's words, and Italy fell for this lie. Now, Rome's ministers have realized that the BRI is not a road towards economic balance and improvement, but an economic stranglehold that gives China the power to interfere, a means to expand the trade deficit in China's favor. Between 2019 and 2022, Chinese exports to Italy increased 51%, but China's imports from the EU only rose 26%. And Italy, in fact, is not the only country that China managed to fool. You see, in the last 10 years, at least 148 countries have joined the BRI or have shown interest in BRI projects. 44 countries in sub-Saharan Africa, 35 in Europe and Central Asia, 25 in East Asia and the Pacific, 21 in Latin America and the Caribbean, 18 in West Asia and North Africa, 6 countries in Southeast Asia. And today, a lot of these countries are secretly regretting their decision to dance with the dragon. And the fact is, Beijing never designed BRI as a road for peace. The BRI is a road to Chinese domination, the road to a more assertive China. It was a means to financing Chinese companies to take on projects in other countries on terms hugely favorable to the Chinese. Under BRI, China has reportedly given $1 trillion as loans to around 150 countries. BRI was China's road to becoming the world's largest official creditor. And the cost, you see, is now being borne by the host countries. And they realize that in the name of development, they may have borrowed at rates that prove to be far higher than the cost of debt from elsewhere. Moreover, the project hired only Chinese labor rather than giving jobs to the host countries. And now many of these countries find themselves trapped in debt with no road out. Many are being forced to hand over their strategic assets to China, in fact. I'll give you some examples. The Gwadar port in Pakistan has been leased to China for 40 years. Tajikistan had to cede more than 1,000 square kilometers of land for a petty loan. Laos had to let go of its entire national electric grid to a Chinese company. The Hambantota port in Sri Lanka has been leased to China for a period of 99 years. Same with the Malacca gateway in Malaysia. It is in Chinese control for 99 years. And critics have described this as Chinese colonialism in the 21st century. What about the BRI countries? Do they have a road out of the dragon's den? India has blocked the BRI. In fact, recently at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi said, and I'm quoting, "Strong connectivity is crucial for the progress of any region. Better connectivity not only enhances mutual trade, but also fosters mutual trust. However, in these efforts, it is essential to uphold the basic principles of the SCO Charter, particularly respecting the sovereignty and regional integrity of the member states." And BRI, you see, does not respect either. In fact, with the help of the BRI, China is walking its dreams of global domination. It is seizing control of strategic points, choke points. Look at Djibouti. It occupies a strategic location at the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden intersection. A lot of shipments meant for Europe, West Asia, or Asia are handled in Djibouti's port. It so happens that in 2017, 4 years after launching BRI, China's People's Liberation Army established its first foreign military facility in Djibouti. China has spent upwards $14 billion in Djibouti through the BRI. More and more countries are waking up to the BRI lie. Italy's strong statement proves that it is not only the lower income countries that are suffering through the pain. Even a developed European country like Italy condemns Xi Jinping's idea as wicked, as a strangulation. Italy has come out. The question is, will Greece and other nations follow? And with that, let's now shift our focus to the Russia-Ukraine war. Saudi Arabia is set to host peace talks. The summit will be organized by Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelensky's 10-point peace formula will be discussed. Russia is not invited. Who is invited then? Who all will be attending? What is on the agenda? And will the talks lead to any solution? Now, first things first, reports say the summit will take place on the 5th of August and the 6th of August in the city of Jeddah, August 5 and 6. Ukrainian officials say their peace plan would be discussed in 3 phases, leading up to a meeting of the heads of state and government. Invites have been sent out to some 30 countries. This includes the US, the UK, the EU, India, Brazil, Turkey, South Africa, Indonesia, Egypt, Mexico, Chile, Zambia, among others. Only the UK, South Africa and Poland and the EU have confirmed attendance. The US National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, is also expected to be there. But more interest is around China. Will Beijing be attending the talks? It's not clear as of now. China has not ruled out the prospect, though. But it did sit out the previous peace talks in Copenhagen. China has also tried to broker peace in the war, remember, but President Xi Jinping's plan was biased towards his no-limits partner, Vladimir Putin. Talks in Saudi Arabia are going to be pro-Ukraine. As I said, Ukraine's peace formula will take the center stage, which is in fact less of a peace plan and more of a checklist of everything that Ukraine wants, basically. Restoration of its territory, withdrawal of the Russian troops, the release of all prisoners, a tribunal for those responsible for the aggression, and security guarantees for Ukraine. So, would China attend the talks? The summit is an opportunity for the West to make Kiev's case, to win more global support. Ukraine and Western officials hope that this leads to a peace summit later this year, where global leaders sign shared principles for resolving the war. This comes as the war appears to have reached a stalemate. Ukraine has not gained meaningful territory in recent months. If we just take a look at the map, this is what Ukraine has liberated in the last 2 months. 6 villages in the south of the Donetsk region, 1 on the Zaporizhia front, and a few more modest gains along the border. Yet, Kiev is burning weapons at a breakneck speed. The counteroffensive has become expensive for the West. When Ukraine and the West were busy hyping up the counteroffensive, Russia spent months fortifying the almost 1,000-kilometer front line across the territory that it occupied. And now Ukraine is having trouble penetrating the fortress. What is unclear is, what was Ukraine doing when Russia was disarrayed over the Wagner mutiny? Why did it not use that situation to its favor? Moscow was clearly under stress at that point, yet no significant gains were made by Ukraine. Ukraine could have amped up its counteroffensive. What was it waiting for? Earlier in July, President Zelensky was invited to the NATO summit in the Lithuanian capital. NATO members failed to give a timeline to get Ukraine into the bloc. Zelensky was not subtle in expressing his disappointment over the same. Remember, he openly slammed it as unprecedented and absurd. But what the NATO did offer was a prospect of long-term protection and security assurances. The G7 launched a framework for negotiations with Ukraine. And this is what US President Joe Biden had to say.
Today, the members of the G7 are launching a joint declaration of support for Ukraine to make it clear that our support will last long into the future. This starts a process by which each of our nations and any other nation who wishes to participate will negotiate long-term bilateral security commitments with and to Ukraine. We're going to help Ukraine build a strong, capable defense across land, air, and sea, from which will be a force of stability in the region and deter against any and all threats.
You see, President Biden made a clear statement that its support to Ukraine would last long into the future. The multilateral framework, he announced, would cover military and financial support, intelligence sharing, and also a promise of immediate steps if Russia should attack again. Zelensky called it a significant victory for Ukraine. This week, Kiev will start discussing the security assurances with the US. These guarantees will be in effect until Ukraine secures NATO membership. And our next story is from Denmark. It is considering banning protests involving burning the Quran or other religious texts. In fact, the government will be seeking to find a legal tool that will enable the authorities to prevent the burning of copies of the Quran in front of other countries' embassies in Denmark. The Danish Foreign Ministry has said that while protecting freedom of expression is crucial, such protests benefit extremists and also pose a security threat. The Foreign Minister of Denmark, Lars Løkke Rasmussen, has said that the burnings are deeply offensive and reckless acts committed by few individuals, and that these few individuals do not represent the values that the Danish society is built on, saying that the burning of holy scriptures only serves the purpose of creating divisions in a world that actually needs unity. He went on to say that the Danish government will explore the possibility of intervening in special situations where, for instance, other countries' cultures and religions are being insulted, and where this could have significant negative consequences for Denmark, not least with regard to security. But the minister added that whatever measure was taken must be within the framework of the constitutionally protected freedom of expression, and in a manner that does not change the fact that freedom of expression in Denmark has very broad scope. Denmark and Sweden have been making headlines in recent weeks following anti-Islam protests where the Quran, the Muslim holy book, has been damaged or burned. We've been telling you about this. This led to diplomatic tensions with several Muslim-majority countries and sparked angry demonstrations in Muslim nations. Now, Sweden's Prime Minister has also said that work on a similar process has started in the country. Ulf Kristersson has also confirmed that he had been in close contact with his Danish counterpart, Mette Frederiksen. Recent weeks have seen tensions running high. In June, an Iraqi Christian refugee living in Sweden burned a copy of the religious text outside Stockholm's central mosque. The man was then given permission to destroy a Quran for a second time last week. And this led to Sweden evacuating its embassy staff from Baghdad after the building was stormed and set on fire by protesters. Last week, 2 Danish far-right activists stamped on a Quran and set it alight. This was outside Iraq's embassy in Copenhagen. In fact, Iraq expelled Sweden's ambassador after protesters had stormed its embassy in Baghdad. Supporters of the influential Iraqi Shia religious and political leader Muqtada al-Sadr had called for the burning of the embassy. The demonstrators were angry over what was supposed to be the second burning of a Quran in front of the Iraqi embassy in Stockholm. The diplomatic fallout over the burning of the Quran outside a mosque in Sweden is now threatening to escalate into a trade war, following calls from Muslims in the Middle East and North Africa to boycott Swedish products. The question is, following a string of attacks, are the latest moves by Denmark and Sweden too little too late? Or is it better late than never? And will they eventually end up drawing the line as far as such attacks are concerned? If yes, how long before that happens? Also, will other countries follow suit? Will they also take similar measures to ban such acts? The Wuhan virus is back. The number of cases on the rise again. Hospitalizations also have increased. Is this a new outbreak? And should you be worried? The United States is reporting the biggest COVID-19 spike since December 2022. Hospitalizations have gone up by over 10% between the 9th of July and the 15th. COVID-19 test sales have jumped by more than a third. Also on the rise is the number of people testing positive for the Wuhan virus after a visit to the emergency room. And the US is not a one-off case, by the way. Some other countries as well are seeing an uptick in the Wuhan virus numbers. In the UK, for example, nearly 790,000 people had symptomatic COVID-19 as of the 29th of July. The Zo Health app is reporting a 30% rise in daily cases, and this is as compared to the start of the month of July. In Japan, Wuhan virus cases have reportedly increased fourfold between May and July. So is this trend indicative of another Wuhan virus wave? Let's just put this question across to Dr. Ishwar Gilada. He is a consultant of infectious disease and the Secretary General of Organized Medicine Academic Guild. He's joining us live from Mumbai. Thanks very much for being here with us. Doctor, just to put things in perspective, help us understand how we should assess this rising number of cases in COVID-19 in some parts of the world.
See, COVID virus is here to stay. It is not going to go away totally. And therefore, when the immunity wanes, whether it is a natural infection immunity through direct infection or through vaccine, then the cases will rise. However, what we should look at is the trajectory of the infection. How many of them require hospitalization or oxygen or ICU? What are the deaths? And that is not happening. Is there any new variant? No new variant has come after Omicron. So last 1.5 years, almost 20 months, only variant available is Omicron. Now, it also depends on the type of vaccine used and the type of earlier infection. So I think we should not be worried about any such kind of rise, and we should concentrate on what can be done if at all it spread wildly. Currently, what we see in India is H1N1 or H3N2. These two are the influenza A viruses. They are more common than COVID. RSV, that is respiratory syncytial virus, that is more common than COVID. Influenza B is more common than COVID. So if you calculate, COVID is not even 8 or 10% of all these three infections. So what is happening? Last 1.5 years, I call Omicron as a variant of support rather than variant of concern. And no variant of concern has come after that. Only after Omicron came, everything opened up. Schools opened up, colleges opened up, workplaces opened up. Otherwise, that work from home was one of the worst diseases, which is now coming out because of Omicron. So I think till a new variant comes, which is more severe than Delta, which we had seen, we should not worry at all, and we should not have a COVID-centric policies. Recently, twice I traveled abroad, and the airline announces COVID-specific guidelines. And not even the announcer uses mask. So I think they are making mockery of COVID, and that is more deterrent than any of health. So I think we should abolish all the COVID-related committees. We should concentrate on emerging and re-emerging viral infections or respiratory viral infection, and whichever are the category we should take. It is nothing to be worried about, particularly India, which has a very good immunity, both natural and acquired. And we have not seen any kind of let-up, around 40-50 cases coming daily in the country. It is like I had seen in one family in Jaipur, 45 cases in one family. In a country of 140 crore people, if we have 40-50 cases or 100 cases or 200 cases, we should not be bothered at all.
Right, I was just coming to that when you talk about natural and acquired immunity, given the questions surrounding vaccine efficacy, as most of us have taken our final shot months ago.
No, efficacy may have waned. What I'm worried about is, what I'm not worried about is there is no new variant which is causing any concern. So if you are not worried about influenza or viral fever or any kind of seasonal flu, why you should be worried about COVID? It doesn't bother you. It just gives you 2 or 3 days of fever, running nose, and that's what happened in any kind of flu. So If there is no specific national program for influenza or other viruses or RSV viruses, why should we bother about COVID, which is milder than current influenza viruses?
All right. Thanks very much, Doctor, for helping us better understand the spike in COVID-19 numbers in some parts of the world and whether or not we should be concerned. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Shifting focus for now to the latest coming in from Pakistan. A gathering of the Jamiat Ulema-e-Islam party has gone horribly wrong. A suicide bomb attack killed at least 54 and injured 200 people in the Bajaur district. In the latest, the Islamic State group has claimed responsibility for the bombing. The armed group is active in neighboring Afghanistan, and reports say the group often takes shelter in the Peshawar region. How exactly is the government reacting to this attack, and what's the latest from on the ground? Our next report bringing you all the details.
Overturned tables and chairs. Scenes of destruction. This is the aftermath of a suicide bomb attack that happened at a political party gathering in northwest Pakistan.
Today, during a Jamiat Ulema Islam rally, there was a blast. Many of our colleagues have been martyred, many injured. Personally, I am safe, but my colleagues have suffered heavy losses.
An attempt to weaken democracy. This is what the EU had to say after the attack. The blast at the conservative Jamiat Ulema Islam party's gathering killed at least 54 people.
I am a shopkeeper and I was also present at the rally with my son who got injured. We lost our loved ones. So many martyred in the incident. I demand that the government investigate this because this was a brutal act. Now we don't know what will happen in the future.
I didn't know how and what exactly happened. I just saw a spark and heard a big bang. I was sitting close to the stage and our leaders were near the stage. After the blast, I saw hundreds of people lying on the ground and people started firing the air. A lot of firing was witnessed.
Rescue operations have been completed, and officials say the death toll may rise further as people are in critical condition. The Islamic State group has now claimed responsibility for the bombing. The northwestern Bajaur district borders Afghanistan, where ISIS Khorasan has been active for a long time. Reports say the group often crosses the border and hides in the Peshawar region. Another major armed group, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, which is known as the Pakistan Taliban and linked to the Taliban in Afghanistan, has condemned the attack and distanced itself from the incident. The TTP is infamous for demanding the imposition of Islamic law in Pakistan. It has been waging a rebellion against Pakistan for over a decade and demands a reversal of the merger of Pakistan's tribal areas with Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. The Afghan Taliban has also reacted. Zabiullah Mujahid, a spokesperson for the Afghan Taliban, said, and I quote, "Such crimes cannot be justified in any way." Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has called out the terrorists responsible and says that the bomber has targeted those who speak for Islam, the Quran and Pakistan. They will face real punishment. The bombing is one of the 4 worst attacks in northwestern Pakistan in the past 10 years. In 2014, 147 people were killed in a Taliban attack in an army-run school in Peshawar. The victims were mostly school-going children. In January 2023, 74 people were killed in a mosque bombing in Peshawar. In February 2023, over 100 people were killed in a mosque bombing inside the police headquarters in Peshawar. Peshawar has been the epicenter for all the attacks, and this time the attack location is not too far from Peshawar. In fact, an emergency has been declared in the hospitals of Bajaur. and most of the critically wounded have been transported to Peshawar hospitals. Experts say now that the Islamic State group has claimed responsibility for the attack, Pakistan will have to shield multiple fronts to prevent such attacks from recurring. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Are you a Swiftie, a Taylor Swift diehard? Then my next story is for you. In downtown Seattle, Taylor Swift sang Shake It Off and her fans delivered. They did shake it off, causing an earthquake quite literally. That's right, the fans shook the ground so hard it registered signals on a nearby seismometer. Seismologists recorded an earthquake, rather a swift quake as it's being called, of magnitude 2.3. This happened throughout both of Taylor Swift's concerts on July 22nd and 23rd. The shaking was sustained throughout the show. So what really caused this tremor? It was the 70,000 Swifties and all the music associated with the concert. Music blasted from the concert sound system and Taylor Swift fans danced in sync with it. Their movements sent off ground vibrations, resulting in seismic activity. The pop megastar is currently 4 months into her Eras tour and is not only shaking the ground, but also the American economy. Her 52-stop US tour is entirely sold out. The opening show in Arizona back in March drew about 70,000 fans. Ticket prices for her show in Santa Clara sold for up to $20,000 on Vivid Seats, which is a second-hand ticket exchange. Taylor Swift has had such an impact on the American economy that she caught the eye of America's Federal Reserve System. That's right, the Fed's latest beige book mentions that Swift's concerts supercharged Philadelphia's tourism revenue despite a lull in the industry overall. In fact, her Eras tour has boosted hotel revenues. In some cities, hotel prices more than tripled. This included Pittsburgh, Minneapolis, and Kansas City. The hotel occupancy rate in Allegheny County approached 100%. Hotel reservation platforms crashed, in fact, due to the surge in web traffic. When the Eras tour came to Chicago, it enjoyed its highest post-pandemic public transit ridership. Swift's 3-night stay from the 2nd of June to the 4th generated over 43,000 extra rides. The superstar grossed $90 million for the greater Cincinnati area during her 2-night stint. $2 million of the revenue was in extra hotel stay. Downtown Cincinnati hotels hit 98% of their booking capacity. Overall, Swift could add over $4.6 billion in consumer spending to the U.S. economy, and the average fan spends over $1,300 to attend a concert on the tour, including tickets, merch, hotels, travel costs. We aren't even factoring in the elaborate glitzy outfits that the fans end up donning. They are willing to splurge hundreds of dollars on the fits. Swift's Eras tour has brought about an era of Swiftonomics and Quake. But she is not the only artist to have shaken the ground. Last year in August, The Weeknd also performed at Lumen Field in Seattle, sending off seismic signals. However, they were not as strong as those caused by Swifties. And then there was the Beast Quake of 2011 during a pro football match. Seattle Seahawks running back Marshawn Lynch made a last-minute touchdown. Fans roared in celebration, triggering an earthquake of magnitude 2.0. Seismologist Jackie Kaplan-Abucha tweeted comparing both the tremors. And guess what? Swifties shook the ground twice as hard as Seahawks fans. And now Beyonce will be performing in Seattle in the month of September, and will we see more such earthquakes is the question. Let it be government establishments or private companies. Artificial intelligence, or AI, has taken over the market by storm, a storm which may steal away millions of jobs. A study says that 12 million Americans may need to switch jobs due to shrinking demand. With the rise of AI, e-commerce, and an aging population, workers need to be ready for the new threats to their jobs. Which industries will be heavily impacted by AI is the immediate question. Let's get you all the details at this point. Experts say that there has been a job-switching boom in the recent past. Workers are seeking a better pay, also better work culture. But many employees may change jobs now, not because they want to, but because they will have to. We are talking about the rise of AI in different sectors. AI can do things better and faster in some level, and thus employers are prioritizing it. McKinsey researchers say that 75% of the projected decline in job levels are in 4 categories: office support, customer service, also sales, food services, and production work. And if you are working a high-paying job, you may be safe. The study says that lower wage workers will be hit the hardest. They are 14 times more likely to change occupations by the year 2030. And on the other hand, the demand for higher wage professions may end up growing. Industries like healthcare, tech, transportation could see a boom by the year 2030. A major advantage for AI is in the field of automation. Automation of jobs could be fueled by generative AI tech like ChatGPT. And studies show that 30% of work hours could be automated by the year 2030. Studies also show that automation could heavily affect the demand for clerks, retail salespersons, also administrative assistants and cashiers. Why would these specific job roles be affected is the immediate question. Well, experts say it's because the jobs involve a higher share of repetitive tasks. This means that people like cashiers, salespersons are not exactly being engaged and will end up being impacted. Thus, the market will have less demand for such job roles. But do not be mistaken, with more online shopping, there will also be more demand for workers in the warehouses. More drivers will be required to deliver the products to the people's doorsteps. And this is where workers will switch jobs rather than simply not having a job. In fact, studies show that transportation services will see a job growth of 9% by the year 2030. So will all low-wage workers be able to switch jobs? This depends on the government and its initiatives. In order for low-wage workers to get stable jobs, they will require reskilling. And experts say a more skills-based labor market will be needed to be set up, where an employer hires a worker on the basis of their skills and not looking at their past experience.
As AI develops, we've got to make sure that we have safeguards in place that will ensure this new technology is actually good for the American people. I'm confident it'll be good for the companies. I have no doubt about that. The biggest companies in the world who currently make money hand over fist in this country and benefit from our laws.
You see, it's not only jobs that are at risk. There is a fear also for the safety of humanity overall, the stability of the economy, and also potential harm towards democracies. Let's now talk about TikTok. We have earlier told you about the absurd trends on the platform and how some have proven to be deadly. And now a new challenge called the 75 Hard Fitness Challenge is in the news. In fact, a woman was hospitalized after she took part in this challenge and drank around 4 liters of water for several days. What really happened? And what is this new so-called fitness challenge all about? Our next report getting you the complete story.
Earlier, it was Ozempic, which was called the magical weight loss drug. Then a few days ago, it was the Borax strain trend. And now, A new trend is making headlines. It aims to make users healthy and fit. It's called the 75 Hard Fitness Challenge, but the challenge has proven to be dangerous. Here's what happened with the TikToker Michelle Fairbairn. Fairbairn was hospitalized after she took part in the viral fitness challenge. Why? Well, she drank too much water. This might seem strange, as our elders always tell us to drink as much water as possible. But in this case, too much water can be deadly. Here's how. The 75 Hard Fitness Challenge calls for the following things: work out twice a day, follow a strict diet, drink over 3.5 liters of water. Drinking over 3.5 liters of water can result in water poisoning, which can prove to be fatal in such extreme cases, because it can lead to a massive sodium deficiency. Experts say that while exercising, you lose sodium through sweat. Drinking too much water during exercise can dilute the sodium content of your blood. This can lead to nausea, vomiting, loss of energy, and confusion. The viral challenge has raised a lot of health concerns. Experts are also questioning the psychological impact. The challenge doesn't allow a person to have cheat days. If a person misses even a single day of the challenge, they are punished. They have to start from scratch, from day one of the challenge. Fitness experts have called out the harmful effects of the challenge. They say that it is more likely to cause frustration and burnout. An expert has said that it could be great fate. They have created this idea based on extremes. Strength coaches say that a workout schedule should suit you. You should choose what you're comfortable with when you're initially starting, after the intense scrutiny. A new challenge started called the 75 Soft Fitness Challenge. TikTokers say that it was for those people who can't work out twice a day. The rules are dialed down and require a person to eat well, drink alcohol only on social occasions, do a 45-minute workout each day, drink 3 liters of water, and read 10 pages of any book. But is this an appropriate solution? Replacing a challenge with another challenge? Every now and then, there are fresh challenges that pop up to try and make people healthy. Remember the borax strain trend? A trend where influencers encouraged users to put a potential laundry detergent in their mouth. Why? According to the influencers, people should add a pinch of borax to their smoothies or coffee for health benefits. The powder substance can allegedly reduce symptoms of arthritis, lupus, and many other issues. Thousands of followers advocated the practice. We are talking about a substance which has been banned from food products in the United States. Then there was the infamous Ozempic trend. Ozempic is a medicine for type 2 diabetes patients, but TikTokers consumed it as they believed it was a magical weight loss drug. The absurd trend created a shortage of the drug in many countries. Imagine a diabetes patient not getting their medicine because influencers are consuming it. How long before such deadly trends are reined in? Who is accountable? Bureau Report, WION World is One.
India has only 2.4% of the world's land area, but it is now home to 75% of the world's tiger population. On the occasion of International Tiger Day, the government of India has released the latest data, and it is a big win for Indians, for whom the tiger is the national animal. Between 2018 and 2022, the number of tigers in India increased from 2,967 to 3,682. The tiger population in India grew 6% annually. And this is how it is distributed within the country. Madhya Pradesh houses 785 tigers, the maximum in India. Karnataka follows at 563. And then there is Uttarakhand with 560 tigers, followed by Maharashtra with 444 tigers. The central Indian and Western Ghats landscapes have contributed 2,526 tigers to the total number. They have now become the most dense tiger regions in the world. While northern states have also shown good progress, many southern states have shown declining trends. In Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, also Telangana, even Bihar, Chhattisgarh, tigers' numbers have either declined or have not shown a substantial increase. Meanwhile, Goa says that there are no tigers there. The centre, for that matter, says there are 5 of them. The overall increase in tiger population comes as India completes half a century of successful in situ wild tiger conservation under Project Tiger. It is one of kind project in terms of both scale and also magnitude. Project Tiger was launched by the central government on the 1st of April in 1973. It is aimed at promoting conservation of the tiger. The program came at a time when India's tiger population was rapidly dwindling. According to reports, there were 40,000 tigers in the country at the time of the independence in 1947, and they were soon reduced to below 2,000 by the year 1970. This happened due to widespread hunting and habitat destruction. Concerns around this intensified in the year 1970. The International Union for Conservation of Nature, in fact, declared the tiger as an endangered species. 2 years later, the Indian government launched its own tiger census. The results were alarming. There were only 1,800 tigers left in the country. And to tackle the problem of hunting and poaching, the then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi came up with the Wildlife Protection Act in the year 1972, and a year later, Project Tiger was unveiled. It started at the Jim Corbett National Park in 9 tiger reserves of Assam, Bihar, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Odisha, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal. And soon after, the number of tigers in India began to rise. And by the 1990s, their population was estimated to be around 3,000. Today, there are 54 tiger reserves across India, spread over 75,000 square kilometers. The tiger population stands strong, and not just in India, but globally as well. The number of tigers increased from 3,890 in the year 2016 to 5,575 in the year 2023. And just like in India, the numbers almost doubled in Nepal. The rise in numbers reflects good health of the tiger habitats, comparatively less poaching activities, also relocation of villagers from core tiger habitats. With that, it's a wrap on this edition, leaving you with Gravitas images. Thank you very much for watching.